Hey divers, Alec, Peirce, Scuba, tech tips once again. Now this is an interesting topic and a topic that we have actually talked about before. It's been introduced several times. And it always creates a little bit of controversy because there are, stories out there, fake news and stuff like that, you see. And it has to do with flex hoses. Yeah, flex hoses. Now, flex hoses are becoming increasingly popular. As a matter of fact, as I've mentioned more than a few times to divers who have inquired, they've asked me privately from YouTube, and I love those comments, by the way. Keep them coming. Don't mind at all. I get divers sometimes who send me a question and say, I apologize for bothering you. That's why I do it. If I don't get questions and comments, I'm going to stop doing it. How's that for a hint? Keep doing it. Anyway, they ask me about flex hoses. They say, well, my dive buddy or my instructor or the dive store that I use told me that flex hoses are dangerous. Okay. Let me see if I can clear up some misconceptions. And you don't have to go to a fact checker. Just go to Google. And you'll find all this information. I'm not a genius, but I can read really, really well. Now, when you go and you check on anything to do with scuba diving, in particular, cars, cameras, and so on, you know that you have to look at the latest source. So be very, very careful. You go into Google and you'll see a title that says, flex hoses are dangerous, and you read that article, that's just fine. Check the date. Check the date. Yeah, 2011, 2012. That's this century, right? Maybe. It's also 5 or 6 years ago. Things change a great deal, particularly for a brand new product. Flex hoses really only became prevalent in the scuba industry 5 or 6 years ago. And like any new product that's introduced, be it a phone, a cellular phone, an automobile, anything at all, in scuba gear, skis, no matter what it is, there are bound to be some problems with the new, certainly if it's a completely new idea, new style and tire, there are bound to be a few problems. They test them and test them and test them and introduce them, and sometimes problems show up and they correct the problems. So I don't need to give you a long list of the products that are household names that when they were introduced, had some issues, created some problems, and they were improved, and now they come out. Flex hoses are the same. Flex hoses today, and by today I mean certainly less than 5 years old, preferably less than 3 years old, 3 to 4 years old, are fine. They're excellent. They have many advantages, many benefits over the old rubber hoses, which we'll get to in just a moment. But in terms of performance, in terms of durability, in terms of safety, if a hose is a safety item, and I suppose it is, flex hoses are fine now. Any issues, any concerns about breakdowns or anything else that did occur when they first came out a good number of years ago are gone. Part of the proof of that is the fact that many of the major scuba manufacturers now are putting flex hoses on their gear, new from the manufacturer. So there's several big brand names. Scuba manufacturers have been around for 30, 40, 50 years, have a reputation to protect. When you buy a new regulator, you get a box, you open the box up, there you go. First, second stage, and a flex hose between. Now trust me when I tell you that the major scuba manufacturers would not be doing that if they weren't 100% certain that that particular item, that particular accessory product, whatever it is, wasn't good. They pay enough already on liability insurance and lawyers. They are good. So let's put that issue to one side. Let's forget about it. Flex hoses are good. But why are they so popular? Well, there's lots of reasons. Here's one reason right there. Check it out. Yeah. So it used to be that if you were on a dive boat with a half a dozen other divers, and your dive gear was sitting on your dive bag, and you said, "Can you mind checking your regulator?" and the dive man said, "No problem. Which one is it?" He would say, "The one with the black hoses." Yeah. They were all black hoses, and they have all been all black hoses for a very, very long time. They've all been rubber-covered hoses. They're all black. Just that simple. So that was silly. But now is easy. Well, the one over there with the green hoses, or the one with the purple hoses. Yeah, I suppose there's divers out there that would put purple hoses on there, or bright red hoses. Why not? I was going to say a nice color. It's a color, and it's distinctive. And if you like that color, go for it. Me, I'm a blue guy. I like blue. Look at that. Eh? White. I've had my own personal regulator that I'm using right now. Brand doesn't matter. It's called the Z-E-O regulator. I love it. I've had it for 2 or 3 years. Works beautifully. It's lightweight, good for travel. And guess what? Out of the box, it came with a brand spanking new white flex hose. Yeah. And my Safe Second, my octopus from a different manufacturer entirely. Scuba, the Alt Air. It's a great little octopus. Slim, lightweight, and it works perfectly. It comes with from the box, with the extra long, Safe Second, typical hose, bright, high-vis yellow, flex. I just love it. So all the hoses on my regulator are now flex hoses. And why is that so nice? First of all, they're lighter. That doesn't mean they're not built as strong. They are, in fact, as strong or stronger. You need to appreciate that a rubber hose has an inner core that is then wrapped in nylon braid, just like this. But then with a rubber hose, after they do that, then they cover it with black rubber. So there's no black rubber on this. It really is essentially the difference. There are some other differences, but that's essentially it. What are the benefits? Well, besides the color, there are other benefits as well. There's one. You can't do that with a rubber hose. They're extremely flexible. You don't have to have, you can if you want to, but I don't tell people to put a hose protector on them anymore. With rubber hoses for many years, I insisted that divers put hose protectors on because this will bend very, very tightly. If you put it in your dive bag or your regulator bag and bend it sharply, and it's a rubber hose, then the rubber will break right there at that metal ferrule. Not so with flex hoses, so you can reduce the weight even more and make the whole system a little more flexible by not putting on hose protectors. So a little lighter for carrying, also lighter, you don't get jaw fatigue the same, much more flexible, tough, you don't need hose protectors. There are no disadvantages and a number of advantages. So if you're getting a new regulator, ask the dive store if they will install flex hoses for you. Choose the color. These particular ones are from a company called MyFlex. MyFlex. M-I-F-L-E-X. MyFlex. There's others as well. This is just one company. They've been around for quite a while. You don't have to get MyFlex. They're all pretty much the same. They actually come from a hose manufacturer, not from the scuba gear manufacturer. This is not an Aqualung or Oceanic Maris hose. It's from a hose manufacturer. But you can actually ask them that you want to have flex hoses on your regulator. Now sometimes they will say, well, I can put that on the regulator and I can put it on the Safe Second, but they don't make flex hoses for high pressure. They might say that because the high pressure flex hoses are relatively new. They're available, not brand new, a couple of years now, but a lot of dive stores may not be aware of that or don't have them. And look at this, this is beautiful. This is even smaller in diameter. You see that? You see the difference there. You see this is the high pressure hose, the black one, and this is the low pressure hose, the white. There are a couple of reasons for that. First of all, the inner core, the inner tube that the air travels through in a high pressure hose is very, very small. It's not microscopic, but it's extremely small. That way, there's not a great flow of air. You don't want flow of air through a high-pressure hose. It just has to have enough pressure to travel through to make the pressure gauge read 3,000 psi. So there's not really a flow through here. It also makes it smaller, which makes it stronger. On a low-pressure hose, on the other hand, you want flow. You want to see the hole in the end? You want flow. So the hose to the end is quite large, probably about 1/4 of an inch all the way through. So the air flows through into your mouth wherever you need it to go. So it's the point is that this high pressure hose is really small, really light and flexible and strong and tough. And that's for your SPG, if you have an SPG. Now if you're using a computer that has air integrated, which is really, really nice, and you're using a transmitter, whether you like it or not, and that's another whole topic which you've actually talked about. There's not too many, but there are always advantages and disadvantages to almost everything. And one very small disadvantage to the transmitter is that it is part of the first stage. Obviously, it sticks out like on the first stage. And it's not uncommon for people, divers, maybe yourself, dive masters, for other people, when they pick up a scuba tank to grab it by the regulator. It's not normally a problem because the regulator is extremely strong. It's fastened on there with a DIN fitting or a yoke fitting, and they're very, very strong. And you can pick it up and off you go. However, if you have if you have a transmitter on your first stage, it's possible for the person to grab it and maybe miss the big knob or the first stage and grab it by the transmitter and try to pick it up. That is not very good. So they actually make this. It's pretty neat. What is this? High pressure hose, yeah. This is a high pressure hose, but it's not for an SPG, obviously, because you wouldn't be able to read it behind your head. Now, this is a high pressure hose. You put it into your high pressure port outlet on their first stage, and then your transmitter fits in here. Yeah. So people wouldn't be grabbing this to lift it. I'm not sure if that's a great idea, but it's something they came out with to kind of address that concern that some divers had. Point is that you can get flex hoses for anything. They're tough, they're pretty, they make your rig distinctive, they last longer, and there's lots of benefits to them. So when you're thinking about this, discussing it with your dive buddies, don't get too wrapped up with those divers or even dive store owners who will say that they're not good. Use your own common sense. Go on to Google and check it out yourself, and you'll find out, as I have, as a dive store owner, as an instructor, and as a very active diver, they're fantastic. Give them a try. Okay, hope there's some ideas in there, something for you to share. Keep the comments and the questions coming, because I really do enjoy those. I try my best to answer every one if I possibly can. Talk to you again real soon. Alec, Peirce, Scuba, Tech Tips.